Hey guys, so I wanted to bring up a topic that can be sometimes forgotten for years, decades, a whole lifetime by some people. And this is really important, and it's especially important in relation to the concept of manifesting. What I'm talking about is the simple fact that you never have anything other than the moment in which you're currently aware. But I think a more reasonable chunk to bite off for human beings is this day. And so when Neville Goddard talks about taking on the state, assuming the state of something, he is talking about living in this present moment, which is the only thing you ever have from that state, through that lens, with that, suit of clothes on you. So today, and this is all that matters, I really think that I and everyone else tend to get sidetracked by the complete and total illusion of this future that just stretches out indefinitely in front of us. And that is just an idea. It's not real. The only thing that's real is right here, right now. And today, through the end of the day, just cap it. That's what you really, I think, need to be able to make it through with this state, with the assumption, being the thing that you want to be. So if you can be that thing right now, then you are that thing. Because if you can be that thing right now is all there ever is. And the moments of right now stretch off into infinity. And if you are that thing right now, there is, and this is literally how this happens. If you are that thing right now, always, then there's no way you can't be that thing in the future. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So if in your mind you can take on the identity of the thing that you want to become, and you keep that identity with you in all of the right now moments in which you become aware, there's simply no way for you not to become that thing over time in reality. But the only time you have to work with is right now. So you have to be that thing right now. And I find this comforting because all you really have to do every day when you wake up is imagine your day. Imagine the expanse of time as you perceive it. That is just today, which for most people is a pretty short period of time. My days go by so fast, I can't believe it. If you are that thing today, and you can think, act, and behave as that thing, while at the same time holding in your mind the truth that you may not actually be that thing in the physical outer world right now. This isn't about pretending to the outer world. It's not about lying. It's not about actually being delusional. It's about being able to hold two concepts in your mind at once, really. If you can do that for today, literally, if you can do it for today, you can make it to that end goal. Doing it today is the hardest thing. How many people never get past the first step of the thing that they want to do? How many people never make it through the first day of saying, I'm going to turn a new leaf? Most people just fantasize about changing something tomorrow. Everything is always happening tomorrow. If you can make it happen right now in your mind, if you can be that thing in your mind right now, and especially if you can be that thing for the whole day today, or for most of the day today, if you can do your best to think, act, and behave, make choices from that point of view, your success is guaranteed. And I've seen a lot of people speculate on what that means. How do you think and behave as the person that you would like to become? You know, and specifically, a really easy illustration of, I think, the misunderstanding of this concept is people who think, well, if I were a rich, you know, if I'm broke right now, if I were a rich person, I would just like spend whatever, I would just buy whatever I wanted today. So, you know, and I've seen people on like forums talking about how they had actually done that. They spent money they didn't have because they were trying to think, act, and behave as the person that already had money. That's not what that means. That's not what that means. This isn't like some one-size-fits-all thing for people. The version of you that has the money that you don't have, that has the security that you want that you don't have, if they were, you know, if you could go forward to that person in the future through all the twists and turns that got you there, that person would have a lot of wisdom that you don't have. They would have a lot of behaviors that you don't currently exhibit. They would do things differently. They would think differently. It would still be you, but it would be a you that thought differently. It would be a different version of you, a different mentality, a different state of mind, you. So the challenge is, you know, in not knowing exactly what that person is like, the challenge is thinking, behaving, feeling, all of that stuff, how that person feels in that state of security in the future. And then at the same time, while holding that concept that you are not actually that thing right now, you do not actually have those finances, doing your best as you go throughout your day and are presented with the challenges and the choices and everything else that you come up against every day with money, with, you know, how to spend your money and what to do with your time to get money or how to think about money or all that stuff. The challenge is being aware as these things happen, first of all, not just autopiloting through it, and then truly trying to take on that different state and act from that and think from that. Nobody said this was super easy. It's not. That's why so many people are unsuccessful with it. That's why it's easy for somebody who's already, or easier for somebody who's already experienced a state and is no longer in it, to return back to that state. It's why people, you know, that are used to being very financially well off can just go bankrupt and have nothing, and then 5 years later you check in and they're a millionaire again. It's, you know, it's easier if you've already experienced it. So for those of you who are trying to get somewhere that you've never been, and that where it's, you know, it's difficult to really know, you know, what that would feel like, you know, this is the challenge for you. Nobody said it was easy. You've got to do that, you know, you've got to do that work. You've got to make that effort. So what would the person that you want to be do with the current circumstances that you have? You know, the far off version of you that has money, that's figured this out, wouldn't come back into your situation with no money and all of that, all your financial problems, and make them worse by spending a bunch of money. That's just not what they would do. They would do something else. And so, you know, the upshot to all of that is, the upshot to that, you know, sort of being at a disadvantage because you don't really know what that would feel like or how that person would necessarily act. The upshot is that you have, you know, you have the unknown forces of the universe supporting you. So by knowing what you want and then taking on this state and then doing what I'm telling you with trying to act from that state and think from that state throughout the day, you have assistance. So if you're really confused about what to do, how you're going to know what the right thing is by how you feel in your gut about something. You will know whether or not you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing based on what your goal is, based on what your desire is. You'll have a feeling of congruence with that desire when you're trying to, you know, decide what to do. or how to, you know, things feel right and feel wrong, and they always do, even though sometimes it's hard to figure out that feeling. Sometimes it's very subtle, or if you're not very good at discerning your feelings one from another, that can be challenging. But again, all of these tools are there. All this help is there in the form of, you know, outer assistance and how you feel in your gut about things. You know, this is where serendipitous moments occur, where you run into people that give you the information that you don't have, or that, you know, enlighten you a little bit about whatever you're confused about. That's the way this process works, and it works every time. There's simply no way for it not to, but it's really difficult to put that into words without it just sounding kind of too simple or hollow or something. You know, what's that line from the Kabbalion? The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. I think that's what it is. Anyway, whoever needs to get this information is going to get it. Whoever needs to get this message is going to get it, so I'm not going to worry about it. There's simply no way for you not to become the thing you want to be if you are actually embodying that thing today. If you can do it today, then that means you can do it tomorrow, and that means you can do it every day, and that means that you can do it in all of the moments of right now that you experience, which is all you ever experience in reality. Everything else, I mean, if you had to think back about yesterday and think how many moments were you actually present, it might be 0 for the average person. You know, we're somewhere else, thinking about something else, living in the future, living in the past. And I think the way that you know that you're actually in the moment, the way I'm talking about, you're focusing on today, the way I'm talking about, is that time goes by, time on the calendar goes by really slowly, while at the same time, like I was saying, it feels like it's the end of the day really quickly every day. And yet, I don't know how those two things can happen simultaneously.